Okay, before we jump into part 3 of the lecture and start talking about cancer, I want to show you guys a little video that kind of summarizes the entire cell cycle, the process of the cell cycle. So I'm going to bounce the screen up here for us. This is a website called Cells Alive. So you just Google cellsalive.com, you'll get to the home page here. They got all sorts of stuff. It's actually a great website when you're trying to study the cell models, cell structures, functions, etc. But also interactive cell cycle. So you could do mitosis, meiosis, or the overall cell cycle. So there's a little animation here. Check your browser. You may need, I'm using Firefox. That's what works well for me here. But it probably will work with Chrome. I don't know about Explorer. That browser tends not to work well with everything. So anyway, here's our eukaryotic cell cycle. Notice G1 is the yellow. That's the growth phase. S, DNA replication, is the blue. And then G2 is the white, or gap 2 phase. Those three are what make up interphase. And then you have mitosis. So prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and you're done with mitosis. And then here's the GO phase we were talking about in the last lecture. Now that's the phase where cells go to rest. So let me get this up here. Okay, so let's play the little animation. I'm going to turn off the sound because it's a lot of pings and dings. But let's say it's 12 o'clock noon and you're watching a skin cell. Right now, that cell is going to be growing in size. It's going to spend maybe 6-8 hours of time growing. And there's a checkpoint here. G1, first checkpoint. Is the cell big enough and is it functional? If it is not, couple options. A, let's fix it. Internal cellular structures, can they fix it? Or B, self-destruct button. Cell goes into a thing called apoptosis, and it just self-destructs. But if the cell goes through that checkpoint and it's not big enough and it's not accurate, this can lead to problems. So the checkpoint, those are controlled by genes. There's a bunch of different genes, but a key gene is called the P53 gene. And we'll talk about that in a little bit here. All right, so now let's keep going. So we're good. We're now going into the DNA replication phase. So at this point, what I want you guys to look at the nucleus of the cell here. We just doubled our genetic material during that S phase. So that might have taken 4, 5, 6 hours to double the DNA. Okay, so you started at noon, and at this point you're at midnight, maybe 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And it still doesn't look like anything really exciting has happened in your cell. You can't physically see the DNA replicate. Even with a microscope, we can't see it replicate. So now the cell's progressing into G2. Let's build a bunch of proteins and make sure everything is good. Checkpoint. Second checkpoint. Has the DNA replicated? Is the cell big enough? Is it going to work? Is everything okay? Again, same two choices. Three I should say. If the cell's good, thumbs up, keep moving. If the cell's bad, fix it or destroy it. Again, the concern is if your checkpoints are not functional, bad cells keep going through the cycle and they make another bad cell and another bad cell and another bad cell, and they never stop making bad cells. That's the issue of cancer. All right, let's go on the positive note. Everything's good. All the cells are functional. Here we go. Mitosis. Prophase. Take a look at the chromosomes. Straight line of chromosomes. What phase of the cell cycle is this? I'm not going to tell you the answer here. I want you guys to either look it up, go back to the lecture, and find it. Chromosomes are lined up. This is the checkpoint. Is everything in line? If not, fix it or self-destruct. Again, the same problem. If those chromosomes are not lined up, as the cell moves into the next phase and rips the chromosomes apart, if too much information goes to one side and not enough goes to the other side, both resulting in cells. The cells at the end of this process are going to be messed up. That's bad. Boom. Now you got two cells side by side that are identical. Half the size of the original cell. So you notice how fast mitosis went. It doesn't take long. Again, midnight, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, 9, 10, 11, now it's noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 7 p.m., and we haven't even seen really anything happen. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock, and it's over. Mitosis is a very short window in the cell's life cycle. It's an important one, but it's a very short one. Okay, so check that out. It's a great little video. Go back to the website, watch it over and over and over as much as you need to. But a great way to feel comfortable, hopefully get comfortable with the cell cycle. So, okay, so let's get into cancer. Unfortunately, a bad topic, but one we have to talk about and understand. Much of cancer is determined by our genetics and the environment. Okay, they're working together. All right, so cancer cells are simply cells that are dividing and doing something different. So factors that cause problems, again, your genetics. I encourage you guys to look at your family tree. Who in your family has had cancer? Breast cancer, skin cancer, prostate cancer, lung cancer, etc., etc., etc. What are the odds you have inherited bad genes? That most likely means your checkpoints are shut off in your cell cycle, and when the cells replicate and they mess up, it doesn't get corrected, and then those cells keep making more bad cells. So check out your genetics. There are strong links for genetics and cancer. Radiation. This is why we don't stand in front of the microwave. It's why we don't want to be around nuclear energy. It's why we don't want to sit out in the sun and expose ourselves to ultraviolet radiation, because it messes up the cell cycle. It messes up the DNA replication process. That's what changes the DNA. The code goes out of the DNA to the ribosome, and it gets turned into a protein that is not the same as what it should be. It's different. Those cells work differently. Okay, so now we go from radiation, we know certain viruses can lead to cancer, and different chemicals, organic chemicals, can lead to cancer. What they're basically doing is they're activating a group of genes known as oncogenes, and they're shutting off tumor suppressor genes. They're blocking that P53 gene that helps block tumors. So they're not allowing the gene to function and do its job, which is what allows for bad cells to go through the cell cycle and continue to produce more bad cells. All right, so now here's the unfortunate statistics when we talk about cancer. Statistically, 1 out of 13 people will get lung cancer. Those are just the odds. 1 out of 7 women will get breast cancer. It's going down. We're seeing 1 out of, trying to push those numbers to 1 out of 8, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100, but we're not there yet. Skin cancer. By far the most common type of cancer. 1 out of 6 people will get it. And prostate cancer. Guys, 1 out of 6 of us will have prostate cancer. Okay, so ignore all this. It's for an activity we do, a face-to-face activity. So these are the cancer statistics that we're seeing right now. Okay, so that's what I want you guys to think about. I mean, these are some pretty significant numbers. 6 men in the family, 1 of them is statistically going to get prostate cancer. 7 women in a family, 1 of them is statistically going to get breast cancer. Skin cancer. Think about if you have a family of 4 and 2 grandparents, 1 of those individuals will get skin cancer. So cancer is not something we want to ignore. the odds of overall just getting cancer is 1 out of 3. Okay, overall, just 1 out of 3. What we're looking at over here, these are called melanomas. These are examples of what skin cancer looks like. And you get that spot, that lump, that goofy border, that raised edge, that discoloration. You get any of that stuff, and don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. Pay attention to it, because it's going to keep spreading. It's going to keep getting worse. It's not going to go away. That's the misnomer. People are like, well, if I just ignore it, it'll just, go away and I don't have to worry about it. So I'm trying to readjust the screen to get to those. So check it out. These are lung cancer tumors that you're looking at here. When somebody has this much of a progressed stage of lung cancer, there's nothing that's going to be done. So this right here, that's a massive tumor and a bunch of small tumors. You're not going to do anything for that person. Okay, so here's some statistics though. This is why during October you see a lot of people sporting pink, especially football players, athletes, women, etc. Cancer Awareness Month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So statistically, 99% of men diagnosed with prostate, you're alive 5 years later. Breast cancer, 88% are alive 5 years later. Colorectal drops to 63%. Lung, unfortunately, drops way down to 15. Difficult to treat. That's the problem. When we look at different types of cancers, it's difficult to deal with. Now, cancer doesn't follow the rules. Here's what it does. The reason it doesn't follow the rules is that it has different DNA. This equals changed proteins equals changed functions. So the cell's behaving differently. It's not doing what it should be doing. So that becomes, most of the time, a problem. Doesn't stop growing. Now, normally, your cell goes through the cell cycle 50 times, and then it dies. Cancer cells don't. They just keep going and 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 doing something different every time, making more copies of different types of cells. Then they will do this nasty thing called metastasis. This is when cancer spreads throughout the body. So it grows and grows and grows, and then pieces break off. And that allows it to spread throughout the body. So that little lump on the back of your shoulder, or on your nose, or on your chin, or on your leg, that melanoma, that skin cancer that you just ignored, is going to keep getting bigger, and it's going to keep dividing. It's going to do a thing called angiogenesis. This is when it steals blood supply from other cells. It literally reroutes blood supply away from healthy tissue to the cancer tumor, and this is what feeds it. It provides it with the nutrients it needs to continue to go through the cell cycle, and then it also provides a great conduit for the new cancer cells to break off of the tumor and go into the bloodstream and fire off and shoot through the bloodstream, and who knows where it comes out. So that little, melanoma on my back, all of a sudden, I ignore it for months or year or whatever, and now I have cancer in my lymph nodes, I have cancer in my bone marrow, cancer in other parts of my body, and the prognosis at that point is not good at all. It's got to be caught early. So I want to put this up here. The number one key to dealing with cancer is early detection. So make sure we're detecting it as early as possible. Treatment options are much, much greater and a higher success rate of survival. Watch out.